Hello! In some of the previous episodes, we've gone northeast to avoid the rain. Today, we've gone west to avoid the heat. We've got 8 tops in total to do today, 3 of them new and 3 of them breasts. No, we're not on the set of Total Recall, we're in the rough bounds of Neudert. Today's route starts at Strathairn at the west end of Creag, and then we're taking the bike up into Glen Desiree to the west for about 8 kilometres, around about 5 miles, to where the Alt Corrie Nanu meets the River Desiree, and then heading up to the northwest on foot to the first top of the day, which is Druim, and then heading northeast onto the first Monroe of the day, Sgùrr, and then continuing on to the north a little bit to take in the Corbett top of Creag Backastain, and then we're heading largely east over the ridge, over Garbh, Mhòr, Cìoch, Bheag, over the east top of Garbh, Bheag, and on to the third Monroe of the day, Sgùrr and Coireachan. And then from here heading south over the Monroe top of Sgùrr and Coireachan south top, back down into Glen Desiree, back to the bike, and then taking the outward route back to Strathairn. So we're at the end of the track on the south side of Glendessery after the 8 km 5 mile cycle. Just about to head on the footpath to the northwest to join the main footpath through Glendessery, which goes over the Cìoch. It's about 2 kilometres, just over 2 kilometres, about a mile and a half from here until we leave the footpath to take to the hillside to the northwest and towards the first top of the day, Druim. Just starting the climb to the first top of the day, Druim. We left the main footpath that goes over the Cìoch that you can see in the background. You can also see towards the summit of the Corbett Bheag. It's definitely the rough bounds here, very scoured and scraped landscape. Looking back down Glendessery to the Munro of Ghoirtein there. So we're just heading uphill after a short break to take in first top of the day, Druim. On the first top of the day, Druim, supplementary top, 760.9 metres, 2,496 feet, narrow ridge of the small plot. Judging by the condition of the ground up here, the small plot must be a good bit further down the ridge towards Loch Nevis that you can see in the background. Might just be able to pick out the little settlement of Camusrory there as well. And looking round some of the hills of Knoydart, Benvuya, the Corbett, and on the other side of the Mhòr you've got Melbuya, the Munro, their future episodes. And then behind me, today's next objective, the summit of Sgùrr, Munro, also the high point of the day. Ridge looks a bit rocky, a bit ethereal in the mist, but fairly straightforward. And just looming out of the mist in the background, the lower slopes of the second Munro of the day, Garbh, Cìoch, Mhòr, which will be a bit later on. So we're going to head up the southwest ridge now of Sgùrr. summit of Sgùrr 1040.2 metres, 3,412 feet, peak of the breast. It's today's high point. It's also the first of 3 Monroes on today's route, and it's also the second time I've been in this summit. The last time I was here was a third of a century ago, and the trig point, which is now smashed in the background, was the highest point. It's now the cairn just behind me there. So we're about to head down into the mist to the east and then northeast to take in the Corbett top of Creag Backastain. Just on the summit of Creag Backastain, 885.4 metres, 2,904 feet, crag of the difficult obstacle, possibly. It's a Corbett top on Sgùrr, and it's the second of 3 new tops for today, the first being Druim, and the last top of the day is the third new top of the day, which is Coireachan South top. But we're heading now over towards, can't really see it through the mist, Cìche, which is the Bheag between Sgùrr and Garbh, Chìoch 4. We continue along the ridge over Garbh, Cìoch, Bheag, and its east top, and then down and then up onto the final Mhòr of the day, Coireachan, and then south to its south top, and then back down to the bike, and then the 8km, 5-mile cycle back to Strathain. We're at Cìche, the Bheag between Sgùrr and Garbh, Cìoch 4, translates as whistle of the breast, which would be quite a party trick. It's not whistling so much today, although the wind is funneling through quite quickly. It's quite a narrow Bheag here. Summit of Garbh, Cìoch 4, second Monro of the day, 1012.9 metres, 3,323 feet, large rough breast. And it's the first of 3 tops on this mountain. The other 2 tops are to the east and we'll follow the ridge along. There's a kind of wall that runs along the ridge line as well. You can see a bit of the wall in the background there. So it's still overcast, still a bit of cloud, but it's keeping the temperature down, which is a bit of a relief. I think the rest of the country is sweltering, so quite happy to be in about 12 degrees and a cool wind. Summit of Munro Top of Garbh, Bheag, 968.3 metres, 3,176 feet, small rough breast. And we've got one more top to do on the ridge, which is the east top of Garbh, Bheag, before we head down to the Bheag and then up the final Munro of the day, Sgùrr and Coireachan, and over at south top and then back down to Glen again. On the Corbett top now of Garbh, Chìoch, Bheag, east top, 832.8 metres, 2,732 feet. And we're just about to head down to Bheag, Coireachan and Ghoirtein before we head up the final Munro of the day, Sgùrr and Coireachan. Views coming and going a little bit. You can see the west end of Loch Cìoch in the background. About 30 seconds ago you could also see Loch Nevis, but that's gone now. So we'll continue down to the east to Bheag, Coireachan and Ghoirtein. We're on the summit of Sgùrr Coireachan, 953.8 metres, 3,129 feet, peak of the Corries. And wouldn't you believe it, the cloud is just parting enough to see Cìche, the first Monroe today, and Garbh for the second Monroe as well, so fantastic stuff. You can't quite make out the other Sgùrr Coireachan, which is a few miles south and about 3 metres or 10 feet higher than this Sgùrr Coireachan. So we're just going to head south along the ridge to the south top of Sgùrr Coireachan. So on the final summit of the day now, Sgùrr Coireachan South Top, 926.9 metres, 3,041 feet. And you just see the parent Monroe, Sgùrr Coireachan in the background there. This is the final of the 3 new tops today. So we've done a new supplementary top, a new Corbett top and a new Monroe top, which this one is. Last time I was up here, from the last summit there, I headed off to do the Corbett tops. You can see just in the background there, Bheag and Sgùrr, so didn't do this one, hence the reason for doing it on today's route. So we're just about to head straight downhill to Glendeashery, back to the bike, and then 8 kilometres, 5 miles on the bike, back to Strathain. Back at the bike, I absolutely battered down the ridge from Sgùrr Coireachan South Top there, the South Ridge. But ready now for the final leg of today, the 8 kilometre, 5 mile bike ride back to Strathain. So mostly downhill, hopefully just take about 40 minutes or so. We're back at Strathain, at the west end of Creag. That was a 10-hour full body workout if ever there was one, through the rough bounds of Knoydart. 8 tops in total, 3 Monroes, 3 new tops, including a supplementary top, a Corbett top and a Monroe top on the last Monroe of the day, Sgùrr and Ghoirtein. What a fantastic day. Very barren countryside, very sort of scoured by glacial activity in the past, but some fantastic views when the clouds broke at times during the day, but very grateful of the cool wind. It's kept the temperature down to a reasonable level throughout the day. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you can join me again for episode 11, and until then, cheerio drast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to your local mountain rescue team. Don't forget to hit subscribe.